When I read All Fall Down by Mary Caponegro, I was brand new to her, but I know that she has a very loyal base of fans that have followed her through her 4 collections of stories. This most recent one, published this year from Coffee House Press, is the second one that she's published with them. It features several short stories and is anchored by 2 novellas. The very first story is called Last Resort Retreat, and I have to say, when I read that one, I could totally see why so many people loved Caponegro for both her fabulism, for her humor, for her wordplay, for her for the linguistic trip that she takes her readers on. This story follows a couple, Norm and Martha, middle-aged, on their way to a marriage support weekend. That is maybe their last chance at finding their way back to the love that they once shared. One of the exercises that they have participants at the weekend do is to write the eulogy for your partner. Norm comes across what Martha had written, and it is a scathing, brutal, pained piece of writing. And I'm going to read a little bit from the section that follows Martha's letter. Isn't a eulogy supposed to have a certain dignity? He wants a chance, at least, to edit the thing. He wants to respond to it, but he can't get himself together. And he weeps again, with his head on the desk, because it also moves him, undoes him, really. He wants someone to slap him, as someone inevitably would do the hysterical leading lady in old movies. Maybe he can go out and find a snowbank to weep in, then freeze to death. His carcass a warning on the path like the poor, there but for fortune, ex-trekkers lining Mount Everest. But if he plans to do that, he should at least be able to pass for a snowman, shouldn't he? He wouldn't want to frighten any children passing by. He rises and rummages through Martha's cosmetics bag and finds a cuticle scissors with which he unceremoniously shears off the offending ponytail and surrounding hair. His head, but for a thin hedge level with his ears, now nearly nothing but skin. Shorn is newborn in a sense, isn't it, he thinks, getting his messed up self into fleece jacket and cap and out the door. Just what he wants. Bracing. He needs something to brace him. Almost instantly, it seems, his eyelashes are coated with tiny icicles. Fresh snow has fallen. Continues to fall. He walks in a trance. If he were to fall asleep here for years, like Rip Van Winkle, the whole field would be his beard and his bed. He deserves no better bed than its frozen expanse, like a while-you-were-out index of obliviousness. You need to open your eyes, Mr. Winkle. Visibility is not terribly high with the snow blowing sort of sideways. There are drifts. He turns back and sees her. What I loved about this story is that it brings together so much that she's good at. It brings the linguistic leaps. The story moves sentence by sentence as much by association as plot. It's also able to bring these 2 characters and show them in such different lights. We see them be cruel to each other, insufferable. We can see why the other is so frustrated and resentful of them, and at the same time, we're able to see why they're empathetic, why they're human, why they feel the way they do, and to see that juxtaposition in that way is really quite a wonderful experience. I think there's also a really great balance of, scene and narration. And I compare that to one of the novellas that anchors the collection, which is called Ill-Timed. This, too, is a story of a couple that is on their, struggling. Compared to Norm and Martha, this is a lesbian couple living in Boulder, Colorado, Paula and Alex. Paula is an albino woman in her first lesbian relationship. Alex is a long-time adventurer, mountain climber, risk taker, very physically active and attractive woman, a black woman, and she is struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome. She doesn't know why she feels how she does. And both of them are exceedingly clever women. And they've been together for about a year. Now, the majority of this novella is in dialogue. We see their banter, their cleverness, their connection through words. We also see so many insufferable qualities. Besides just the to be expected pain and fear and irritation and sorrow that are trademarks of a relationship that is suffering. We also see envy moving between them. We also see a certain claiming of victimhood, both of them. It's almost as they passive aggressively attack each other through their language, they're trying to emphasize the privilege of the other and therefore own the blamelessness of victimhood. Right? So, for example, Alex is a graduate of Harvard. Paula mentions it constantly, and while she codes it as a joke, it is a certain finger pointing towards her about this is something that you have, this is a privilege. I don't. The point is that it's painful to witness, and it's almost a testament to Caponegro's talents and skill as a writer, is just as it's impossible to be around a real life couple that is on the surface getting along, but underneath you can feel those dynamics of envy and privilege, resentment and jealousy and skepticism. As much as it's bad to be around that in person, it's also trying to be privy to it through this novella. What stands out from this one, though, from then that first story, is that it's not balanced with that same level of narration. It is almost all dialogue, and even in the scene that is a flashback, takes place very early in their relationship when they are at their best, you still feel it. You still feel that envy. You still feel that insecurity writing all their conversation, and therefore it is just painful to be around. So I gotta say, even as I admired Caponegro's talent, because it's a lot of dynamics she's packing in to her story, and she's created very compelling characters in a very interesting situation, and she does paint so much with her dialogue. It was hard for me to get through. It was hard for me to get through. I preferred her writing where she's able to communicate those same things, but with something of a reprieve from the reader for the reader, so we don't have to go through dozens and dozens of pages of pain. And also at the same time, this very cerebral wit that is native to the author, but also the majority of the characters. That too, I think, sometimes needs to be balanced, needs to be backed off from. Like in Last Resort Retreat, where I think she does it really well. We have that wit, but we also have imagery and description, and different styles, different trails to take the reader on that is able to ultimately, I think, be a more dynamic piece of fiction. There is another novella in the collection. There's also several other short stories. All are wrestling with how to match pain and love, how to manage healing and forgiveness or lack of forgiveness. A Daughter in Time is a very short story that comes right after that first long novella that I mentioned. That's actually one of the better pieces of fiction I've read that deal with events of September 11th. It follows a mother who had just dropped her daughter off at college in New York City when the attacks happened. Overall, I think Mary Caponegro is a remarkably talented writer. I love how in love she is with words, how she's pays attention to the very particles of her stories. I love that how she merges fabulism and realism, and how she's able to have many different dynamics happening at the same time, how she doesn't shy away from pain and passive aggressiveness and really sits in it and spends time in it, though I do think that was overindulged in some of the pieces. She is somebody that I do look forward to reading more of. All Fall Down. This is her latest, and if you have other thoughts about it, I hope you'll let me know.